The morning sun cast a long and steady light across the polished wood courtroom, a place where stories of human struggle and hope often met the firm hand of the law. Within these walls, the air was thick with the scent of old paper and the weight of decisions that would change lives. This was the sanctuary of Judge Judy Justice, a woman whose reputation for clarity and fairness preceded her every step. On this particular day, the docket held a tale of two people who had once shared a life, a home, and dreams, only to find themselves standing on opposite sides of a legal divide. Case number 3056 was called into the silence of the room. The bailiff, with a voice that echoed through these halls for years, announced the arrival of the parties. Blondie O'Barron, the plaintiff, sat in a wheelchair, his presence marked by a quiet resilience. He was suing his ex-girlfriend, Sherilla Williams, for what he claimed was stolen property and money wrongfully taken from his bank account. Sherilla, the defendant, stood with a posture that suggested she had her own side of the story to tell, a counterclaim for property damage etched into her resolve. The judge looked down from her bench, her eyes sharp and observant. She began by establishing the timeline of a relationship that had seen both joy and significant hardship. Blondie and Sherilla had been a couple from the year 2021 until the year 2022. They had shared an apartment, a space where they intended to build a future, signing a lease in June of 2022. However, the month of June had brought more than just a new home. It was the month Blondie had been shot, an incident that left him paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair. The circumstances of the shooting were complicated, involving an altercation with his mother, his children, and another individual. Blondie explained that he had a gun himself, and it had gone off during the chaos. He spent 3 or 4 months in hospital, a long and grueling period of recovery, where the simple act of breathing became a victory. During this time, Sherilla had been by his side, or so it seemed. The rent for their apartment, which cost $750 a month, had been paid for 3 months in advance, covering the period through December. The tension in the room began to rise as the focus shifted to the period when Blondie was incarcerated, from October 2022 until April of 2023. He accused Sherilla of stealing money from his disability payments and a GoFundMe account that had been set up to help with his medical needs. The GoFundMe page had collected $2,800, money Blondie claimed he needed for his own recovery. Sherilla, however, presented a different perspective. She admitted to taking approximately $3,000 from the account, but she maintained that the funds were used to keep their lives from falling apart. She spoke of paying the rent, buying food, and covering utilities. She also mentioned her car note, explaining that she had stopped working as a medical office receptionist in July to care for Blondie after he was shot. According to her, Blondie had agreed to support her because she had no income and had been dedicated to his well-being. The judge, ever the seeker of truth, questioned the validity of these claims. She pointed out the inherent conflict in a situation where one partner is unable to work and the other stops working to provide care. It was a cycle of financial strain that often led to the very arguments they were now recounting. Blondie argued that Sherilla had used the money for unnecessary items, leaving him with nowhere to go once he was released from jail. When Blondie was finally released in April 2023, he found himself in a world that felt cold and unfamiliar. He spent his first night in a car before the mother of his child, a woman named Ms. Moore, helped him find a hotel. He claimed that Sherilla had taken all his personal belongings, including his clothes and shoes, leaving him with nothing. Sherilla countered this by stating she had dropped off tubs of his clothing at an address in Independence, Missouri, where his brothers lived. She explained that she felt a sense of fear and did not want to hand the items to him personally. The judge examined a text exchange where Sherilla asked for an address to return his things, to which Blondie had responded with a bitter remark about her enjoying his money while it lasted. The narrative took another turn as the court heard from Ms. Moore. She spoke of an incident involving a warrant for Blondie's arrest following an altercation over mail. It was a moment of clarity for the court, as it became evident that Blondie had a history of legal troubles and a tendency toward volatility. He had pleaded guilty to a charge of assault involving her nephew, leading to a period of probation that he had subsequently violated. As the testimonies unfolded, the judge looked for evidence of the alleged property damage Sherilla claimed in her countersuit. She spoke of broken televisions and a damaged iPhone, but the police report only mentioned the phone. Sharila described a scene of chaos where Blondie had allegedly torn up items in a house during an argument in October. Blondie denied these claims, asserting that the altercation had been started by her and that he was the one who had been struck from behind. In the end, the judge looked at the two people before her. She saw a man struggling with physical limitations and a troubled past, and a woman who had tried to navigate a difficult relationship until the weight of it became too much to bear. The judge decided to dismiss both the claim and the counterclaim. She offered a piece of wisdom that resonated beyond the legalities of the case. She suggested they stay far away from each other, emphasizing the importance of peace and personal safety. The courtroom began to clear, and the heavy doors swung shut behind them. Sharila walked away with a sense of resolve, determined to move on and protect her children from the drama that had once consumed her life. Blondie, in his wheelchair, reflected on the judge's decision with a quiet acceptance. He expressed a sense of forgiveness, or perhaps just a weary realization that the past could not be undone. The story of Blondie and Sharila was a reminder of the complexities of human emotion and the challenges of building a life together when the foundation is shaky. It was a lesson in the value of self-respect and the courage it takes to walk away from a situation that no longer serves a positive purpose. As the sun continued to shine outside the courthouse, there was a sense of a new beginning for both, a chance to find a path toward a more stable and peaceful future. The echoes of the days preceding served as a testament to the power of the law to provide a space for truth, even when the truth is painful, and the enduring hope that clarity can lead to healing and growth for everyone involved.